Hello and welcome. You're watching UATV News with me, Ksenia Buhai. Let's start with the latest developments. Situation in the Ukraine, energy security and economic development of our country will be the main topics at the meeting of the Ukraine-U.S. Strategic Partnership Commission to be held in Washington, D.C. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba said that this will enforce a new level of cooperation between Kyiv and Washington and the support of our state from the United States for a decade to come. Besides, a new charter for strategic partnership between Ukraine and the United States will be signed.
All meetings will be united by three topics. First, the security of Ukraine, in particular in the context of tension that we observe in the east of Ukraine and in Belarus. Second, Ukraine's energy security as an integral part of the broader security context. We will discuss Nord Stream 2 pipeline. And third, Ukraine's economic development, attracting American investments, more trade between our countries. This is not about some abstract things. This is about living in a peaceful state with a developed economy.
Ukraine is going to enforce its border with Belarus. President Volodymyr Zelensky has convened a meeting of the National Security and Defense Council to tackle this issue. Currently, the situation on the border is under control. According to First Deputy Minister of Internal Affairs of Ukraine, the border guards are ready for possible provocations related to illegal migrants. The probable directions in which people can move have already been calculated.
Measures are being taken for the engineering arrangement of the section of the state border of Ukraine with Belarus. The state border guard authorities of Ukraine will be strengthened by personnel, equipment and special means, including drones and service dogs.
On the eve, two groups of illegal migrants, numbering dozens of people, broke through the Belarusian-Polish border. The Polish border guards managed to return them to the contact line. The rest are being sought. Prime Minister of Poland, Mateusz Morawiecki, warns Ukraine about the risks of the migration crisis. He believes that illegal migrants from Belarus are very likely try to get to the EU through the territory of Ukraine. Piles of rubbish, exploitation of natural resources and destructive militarization. The prosecutor's office of the Autonomous Republic of Crimea and the city of Sevastopol is investigating 20 episodes of environmental destruction in the occupied Crimea. After all, for 7 years, the occupied peninsula has been turning into an environmental bomb. Details further.
Since the occupation of Crimea in 2014, the ecological situation on the peninsula has deteriorated significantly. One of the most tangible problems, they say in the Majlis of the Crimean Tatar people, is the insufficient supply of fresh water. As of today, all reservoirs are almost completely depleted due to the actions of the occupation authorities.
The absolutely uncontrolled use of water and groundwater leads to consequences that are devastating for Crimea, in particular deterioration of drinking water quality over a large territory of Crimea, primarily in its steppe part.
Due to the active militarization of the occupied peninsula, underground waters have also been poisoned. According to Ukrainian ecologists, military actions destroyed an ecosystem within a radius of at least 55 hectares.
Two large landfills have been created on the Kerch Peninsula and 5 more near Cape Opuk. As a result, the landfills absorbed the nearby nature reserve completely, and these landfills occupy a total of about 55,000 hectares of land, which is currently devastated by ammunition.
As soon as the occupation authorities came to Crimea, large-scale plundering of minerals began. According to experts, a large amount of sand and crushed stone for the construction of the Kerch Bridge was extracted exactly in the occupied peninsula.
The entire small mountains were turned into rubble. Huge massifs of land were developed to extract sand. For example, on the very opposite side of Kerch, in the area of the Kerch Peninsula itself, the Pakalska spit was completely dismantled into sand.
Due to the uncontrolled destruction of the environment in the occupied peninsula, the prosecutor's office of the Autonomous Republic of Crimea and the city of Sevastopol is investigating 20 episodes of violations of legislation in the field of environmental protection. Most of them relate to the illegal extraction of gas, sand and water.
There are criminal proceedings on the fact of illegal activity of officials. It is initiated this year regarding the opening of locks on the Bilbek River. As a result, the river widened its course to 2 meters, which led to large-scale damage to the property of residents of Bakhchisarai district. Criminal proceedings have also been instituted on the fact of extraction of minerals from the shelf of the Sea of Azov.
The problem of garbage also remains relevant. Due to the rapid settlement of the occupied Crimea, the landfills of household waste have appeared. According to some reports, the region has accumulated 55 million tons of solid municipal waste, and more than 1 million tons are added to them annually. Only 2% are recycled and 2 more utilized. Reported by Vadim Kramer and Vlada Tsurkan, UATV News.
The level of corruption in Ukraine is much lower than 5 years ago. This was stated by Katarina Maternova, representative of the European Commission, at a meeting of the committees of the European Parliament on Foreign Affairs and Budgetary Control. According to her, reforms of the National Bank of Ukraine, introduction of the Prozoro procurement system, and changes in the gas sector have a positive effect. According to research estimates, the economic effect from them is 6% of GDP, or about 6 billion euros annually. Maternova also commented on the report by the European Court of Auditors. It was about the absence of changes for the better. We all agree that Ukraine still has problems with corrupt and oligarchic structures, with unreformed courts, with a number of state-owned enterprises and other areas where corruption exists. But we have a very different approach from the Court of Auditors. We're talking about the assessment of trends. At present, Ukraine is a considerably less corrupted state than it was some 5 years ago. Incubators for premature babies, resuscitation system for newborns, and specialized furniture was supplied to the regional perinatal center in the city of Kramatorsk in the Donetsk region. It was brought by Ukrainian servicemen. The humanitarian cargo was more than 2 million hryvnias, that is almost $77,000, arrived from France within the framework of the international strategic initiative Help East.
Ця допомога не є випадковою.
This assistance is not accidental. Kramatorsk Maternity Hospital provides medical care to women from not only the city of Kramatorsk. Mothers from other settlements, for example Avdiivka and Marinka, give birth here.
Колектори молока, пляшечки для немовлят.
Here are breast pumps, baby bottles, and other necessities. You see, they are very necessary, no less necessary than resuscitation centers. In general, it should be noted that all these are very high quality and modern products. Our children today in Ukraine have to receive medical care at the latest level. How does one reform the defense system and response to modern security challenges? 45 leaders who work in the Ukrainian military, law enforcement and intelligence agencies completed training under the program Strategic Leadership in the Security and Defense of Ukraine. The corresponding program was prepared by the Kyiv-Mohyla Business School with the support of the National Security and Defense Council of Ukraine and international partners from the UK and Canada. Over the past year, the understanding of national security has changed both in Ukraine and in other countries of the world. This is the core of this program for our members to be able to transform the sphere, and the task for them is to follow this way because it is incredibly important that the institutions work with each other. There is enough gas in Ukrainian storage facilities to pass the heating season without problems. This was stated by Deputy Energy Minister Maxim Nemchinov. He also clarified that the price of blue fuel will not change, but starting in May next year, all consumers will pay not for the quantity but for the quality of the gas used. European accounting rules have been introduced in Ukraine. The volumes will be accounted in cubic meters as usual, but the operators of the gas distribution network in turn will provide the supplier of this fuel with information about its energy value. The bills will indicate the consumed natural gas in energy units. This is a fair approach, given that natural gas differs in its energy value in accordance with the field from which it was extracted. Talking about Ukraine, this difference can reach up to 4%, and this accordingly can significantly affect payments.
Almost 23,300 new cases of coronavirus were recorded in Ukraine over the past day. Among those ill are 1,500 children and 529 health workers. In terms of the spread of infection, the leaders are Kharkiv, Poltava and Odessa regions, as well as Kyiv city. Over the past day, more than 260,000 coronavirus vaccinations were made in Ukraine. In general, almost 11,700,000 people have already received one dose. More than 8 million Ukrainians are fully immunized.
Вакцинація в 11 разів зменшує ризик смерті.
Vaccination reduces the risk of death from the Delta COVID-19 strain by 11 times. Those are the results of a study by the American Center for Disease Control and Prevention. Today in Ukraine, 91 to 92% of patients in hospitals are unvaccinated people. If Ukraine had a vaccination level at least in the European average, we would have 1/3 fewer deaths every day. And even despite this, vaccination has already saved 6,000 lives in Ukraine.
3 EU member states have already announced that they are leaving free entry for Ukrainians. These are Cyprus, Estonia and Croatia. One can get there with full vaccination or negative test before and after departure. This was reported by the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Previously, the EU excluded Ukraine from the green travel list of states due to the worsening of the situation with coronavirus. However, this decision is advisory. The member states can set the limits themselves. The Foreign Ministry also said that information on the rules of entry to any country in the world can be obtained using an interactive map on the department's website. It is currently available only in Ukrainian. By clicking on the state, one can see the necessary travel documents and whether the country is open for tourists from Ukraine. 118 cases of falsification of COVID certificates last week were revealed by Ukrainian law enforcement officers. Most of fake documents are identified during border crossings. This was reported by the head of the National Police of Ukraine, Igor Klimenko. 20 cases have already been sent to court. The police emphasize that producers of fake documents will not avoid responsibility. But for those who bought the certificate but have not yet used it, there will be concessions.
Дивіться, у вас є куплений сертифікат.
The situation is the following. Given you have a fake certificate, but you really want to have a jab, you know that you have a fake certificate. This means you do not have a vaccine. At present, the Ministry of Health, the Parliament of Ukraine, the Deputy Corps, the National Police and the Ministry of Internal Affairs are developing legal grounds for how one can avoid administrative and criminal liability in case I've just mentioned.
This week, Kyiv hosted competitions in one of the most spectacular and unpredictable sports, the European Mixed Martial Arts Championship. More details about what is MMA and who represented Ukraine at this European Championship in our next report. Imagine that boxers, karate fighters, wrestlers, zombies, judokas, Muay Thai and jiu-jitsu fighters, as well as kickboxers, are gathered in one hall. The situation is tense. Those tough guys and young ladies would like to find out in battle who is stronger, but in order to do this, they must gain experience with each other. There is no other way. This is how you can briefly describe the MMA sport or the mixed martial arts.
At the Kyiv European Championship, medals were played in 16 weight categories in MMA and MMA striking.
When we took the initiative to hold the European Championship in Ukraine, we were sure that our team would really hold it because our organization, namely WWUFC, is the 9th in the world today, and our team understands how to create a sports holiday.
Fighters from 14 European countries, including France, Spain, Ireland and Georgia, took part in the competition. Ukraine was represented by 32 athletes, and it was the hosts of the championship that collected the most gold medals, 12, and became the winners of the team classification.
14 countries have arrived and the finals are already fierce. There are already winners. The event is held at the highest level. Our team is the leader in gold medals.
Yegor Subotin defeated his opponent from Moldova in the finals of the MMA striking in the weight category of 77.1 kilograms.
The plan for the fight was to go out and work immediately as the first number. Do not wait for his attacks. I knew that my opponent works well at a distance with his feet. He always came close so that he did not have the opportunity to punch hard with his foot. I got a couple strikes, but to the block, as I expected to hold the fight in the clinch, so I finished it ahead of schedule.
Ukrainian MMA fighters are among the European leaders. In 2018, at the European Championship, they took the second team place, and a year later, they won the World Championship. For many participating teams, the European MMA Championship in Kyiv has become a qualifying tournament for the World Championship, which will be held in December in Berlin. Reported by Vadim Kramer and Olena Diduch, UATV News.
That was our final story. More updates on our official website, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter pages. Stay healthy and take care of yourself.